think one person that I could talk to
This
about
meeting
it
is being recorded.
safely. So, and that is my sister-in-law, and I'm so glad that I had her from a young age. I think from the time maybe around 18, 19 is when I started becoming curious, so just before 20s. But yes, I think long story short, 20s is a time of exploration, curiosity, apprehension, confusion, judgment, self-judgment, judgment from others. Um, but I think for me, it was very confusing and still is sometimes, and not having someone to talk to and maybe validate if what I'm going through is normal. Am I the only one feeling this way? Um, yeah, I feel it can be also a bit scary and uncertain.
What do you hear from your friends? Okay, yes, I know that probably you are, yes, I can understand because I also can't relate. And when I hear, okay, really, this is the issue, this is the concern of the people still, so I also feel surprised. But what do you hear, among your peer group or friends? What could be the concerns or issues you think that, women, especially in India, are not able to feel sexually empowered or discover their own sexuality or explore it fully?
I feel like one issue, no one said this to me specifically, but I see it as something that I've noticed around me is that maybe we feel, and maybe even to a certain extent, I used to believe this, that it's dependent on having a partner, dependent on someone else fulfilling this need for you versus, it's something that you empower yourself to feel. And that's been a more recent journey for me, that I am in charge of this aspect of my well-being and my happiness. Srishti, are you there? I somehow that's not okay. There's a lag on Instagram, I think. Okay.
Yeah, there's a little lag on Instagram, but I can hear you well on Zoom.
Yes, but I have noticed that my single friends are more likely to feel like very sexually more more curious and also exploring and figuring out what works for them more than maybe people who are in committed relationships. Or maybe I again have like a biased sample set of people, but it's a very mixed experience. Also, I think one of the bigger problems is that even with my very close friends, I haven't had these conversations. It's just more recently, and with, say, like, like women, like we met more recently, but I'm able to talk about it with you because there's a certain openness. But even with my closest friends, I've actually not had these discussions, and I'm just noticing that now, that I don't have enough things to tell you because I haven't talked about this with my closest friends. There's a little
So
bit of
let's
awkwardness.
say then this is the issue, that we don't talk
Yeah.
openly about sex or sexuality with our friends, with our parents, or among our peers. So it's a very under the table kind of topic, and we feel very reserved to even talk about it. Yeah. So this is like one
Yeah.
of the major concern, we can say. Meher, what do you have to say on this? What could be the issues you see? Could be your own issues, or you can say that women around you.
I'm laughing right now because my story is so different from Manya's because I take so much pride in the new guy I'm dating, what sex feels like. It was so different for me. And I have two best friends. Okay, they're in Bombay, and um, every time I'd meet them, I'd go from Delhi to Bombay, and I'm like, and every time I'd go, they'd be like, "What? There's a new one. There's a new one." They'd always get these new stories, and I was super vocal. I've always been super vocal. Yet, I've always been vocal. I've always been communicative about sex. I've never shied away from that topic because everything sacred too is born from sexuality. Everything, everything. Whether you choose to become a Mahatma Gandhi or whether you choose to become His Holiness Dalai Lama or whatever you're destined to be, you are still emerging from sex. So for me, it really is a starting point of everything we choose to do in this life because that's how we come forth. So I've never shied away from it. I've always also had a very healthy relationship with my parents communicatively about sex. So we could ask them questions about sex even when we were like 15, 16. And that's when we started dating. So it was so important to kind of talk to our parents about that, because I still remember when I was a teenager and I came home this one day, my mother could tell that I've had my first kiss just by looking at my face. She would just look at my face and say, "Did you kiss today?" And I remember that so vividly. I was like, "How did she get to know?" She's like, "I don't know. You look kind of high, or something looks off with you." And and I remember that experience to be one of the most amazing experiences of my life. You know, when you experience that for the first time, and so many times we are taking that experience away from our children. I'm not saying that you're going to allow. I wouldn't say allow, but I'm not going to say that you're encouraging a baby, but a baby too has certain kind of explorations. I mean, Rishi, you're also a mother, and I'm sure you can also, kind of confirm this, that our babies are small. Your son's 3, my daughter's 2, but they're curious. They're very curious. They're very curious about their body. They're very curious about the bodies of others. They're very curious. And this kind of an understanding is this kind of openness is already there in a child. That curiosity is already there. What is my body? What does this part do? How do I feel when I touch myself here? Your child is curious, but we stab that curiosity straight away. It's so profane. You just, oh my god, how can you do that? So for me, my experiences have always been very, very open communicatively, but pleasure is a different subject altogether. That is a completely different ball game. Whether your partners understand it, don't understand it, this is, you can be communicative, but I feel like pleasure, your relationship with pleasure is also something that changes with time. What might have pleased me as a 16-year-old doesn't please me as a 35-year-old anymore. So that's a really different course. And yeah, communication is one key to going deeper into your pleasure, but also really being honest with yourself. That's such an important thing. And I feel like over time, when we become honest with, hey, you know what, this that used to please me doesn't please me anymore. So we have to really come into ourselves and first, like Manya said, find that deep relationship with ourselves, and only then be able to, share that or communicate that with a partner, with a friend, with whoever. Yeah.
Yeah, means there is a very good point here which you brought up is pleasure. Yeah, because we often confuse sexuality with pleasure. We might have an orgasm and we might not feel fulfilled or contented after
Mm,
that orgasm or ejaculation.
mm,
So why is that so? And how we can make our sexual connection more pleasurable, or how we can enhance pleasure, or what is even a pleasure journey? So this is also altogether a different ball game and different subject. So, coming from there to connect the issues concerned and what really even sexual empowerment means. Yeah, when we talk about being sexually empowered, what do we mean to say? What does it even stand for? What is our experience when it comes to feel sexually empowered? Is what probably I can highlight. And seeing, because being a sex therapist coach and a tantra teacher, I see that there could be so many different concerns which come especially for Indian men or women or even all over the world. I would say that one is the lack of sex education, yeah, and a very deep rooted conditioning, no matter what, in whichever culture you are living, whether you are a Hindu, Christian, Islamic, doesn't matter, whether you live in India or in a Western European country. Everybody has their own deep conditioning. So, where are you coming from? Or even from the parents, yeah, from parents, yeah, education systems are completely faulty. We are not learning anything. We are not learning the art of love, which could be so important for us to make us feel more connected with ourselves, with our people around us, and we are becoming more and more touchy with touch. So the only way we are connecting with the external world or people around us is just talking, and what, we lose this language of no words, yeah, that we can communicate, we can love, or we can express love in more than words. Yeah, without words also we can express love through our touch, through our eyes, through our different small ways and taste. So really bringing that back, yeah, bringing that awareness in our connections back, bringing the awareness in our heart, moving from head to heart. That's, I feel a very important journey. Moving from thinking to feeling, how you're feeling by the touch of this man or a woman. Yeah, how your body is feeling. So losing even to listen to our own body or our own self. So I say that these are, really very, very common issues. And especially in India, the other common issue is coming from marriages at a very, very early age. And people haven't really explored before they are getting married. Yeah, they would have hardly had any sexual experiences or connections before a couple decides to get married. And that's why there's also more and more breaking of marriages or infidelity in the marriages which happens or occurring. So yeah, these are some of we would love to hear from our audience who are listening to us. What are your issues when it comes to sexuality? Maybe you can write us in your comments, and that can make this Instagram live more interactive, and we can also listen to your feedback and comments, and we can also talk on that. So please feel free to share what are your issues when it comes to pleasure journey or orgasm or sexuality. Because I know from my own experience that many women in India or all over the world, they haven't even experienced what orgasm is. Yeah. So or have never touched themselves, have never self pleasured themselves, so have a lot of taboo around these things. So please, if this is really a safe platform or we try to create wherein we can openly talk on these subjects or these topics, so feel free, and we will move forward also on our next what is really does it mean by feeling sexually empowered. Or maybe Meher or Manya, whoever wants to share first, please go for it.
Manya, would you like to go first?
Go ahead, Meher. I'm still trying to
Okay.
find words. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I think being sexually empowered is firstly looking at myself not merely as an instrument of sex. That's super important. Whether you're in a relationship, outside of a relationship, in a marriage, open marriage, your choice to engage in sex, a yes or a no, is completely your choice. There shouldn't be external pressure of a partner. There shouldn't be external pressure of society. There shouldn't be external pressure of have to, but there shouldn't also be external pressure of you can't. So when I'm able to firstly break away from that and discover that a sexual journey is my journey, my decisions of who I choose to engage with, how I choose to engage with them, multiple partners, open marriages, this is really my choice. Okay. So for me, this is really important. And I think a very crucial element in sexual empowerment, because I don't think that the way I could feel empowered is the same way somebody else feels empowered. Maybe someone feels empowered just having sexual relationships within monogamy, with just one partner. Maybe somebody finds empowerment in sex by having open relationships and engaging with more people, but that's their choice. And so we need to respect that choice when it comes to um, an individual's decision of how they want to, engage in sex in their life. I also think that sexual empowerment also kind of, in a sense, correlates with an essence of openness. Where there is, it's difficult to say I'm sexually empowered but I feel caged within my body, or I can't touch myself, or I can't experience. I used to believe I was very empowered, and I'll just give you a little, example. I used to believe that I'm sexually very empowered, and I've been, active since my late teens. But touching myself was like a crime, you know. So for me, I had to really go deep into trying to understand where this was stemming from. what is the conditioning that I have seen around this? So it's okay for a man to love you, for a man to touch you, but it's not okay for you to touch yourself. So for me, I feel like it also needs a sense of openness. It also needs first a very beautiful, in tune relationship with yourself. You can't be empowered externally. Empowerment is inside out. It starts within and then is reflected in everything that you do. So for me, I think that really stepping into my body and asking myself, where are your sexual blockages? What are your what are you what are you not able to power through sexually? And like Manya, this thought that so and so has to give me something versus it's something that happens together, or that I am in charge of my, sexual joy, sexual pleasure. So yeah, I think feeling empowered sexually has a lot of aspects to it, which I believe would also be very different for every person. For me, it's just straight up knowing that I am making this decision right now, and whether it really is in sync with what I want at the moment. You know, and this is when I'm engaging with another person. Otherwise, in a generic sense, when I talk about sexuality and the other aspect of it, which is sensuality, when one feels empowered like that in their container, in their body, and this is minus relationships or partners, I think there is also an openness in the body, and the body can feel more relaxed, more at ease, more confident, less threatened. You don't hold on to shame, and you feel more open in the body. You can move with ease. You allow yourself to feel embarrassed and don't really attach to that embarrassment. It comes to you easy. Life is humorous. Life is fluid. Life is flowy. Life is, you know easygoing. And I think one of the things that brought that to my life was to discover that I'm a sexual being very early in time. And so I could carry that confidence in my life. So I could carry that ease in my life, that, hey, you know what? People have seen me naked. What's there to hide? You know? So I feel like that empowerment makes you start to realize that you don't need to be closed. You don't need to be, you can be an open book. You can allow your vulnerability to come through. You can allow yourself to be at ease with yourself. Yeah, that's, that's a bit.
Yeah, thank you, Meher. Manya, would you like to share and add what does it mean to be sexually empowered for you?
That was really beautifully said, Meher. And I can really feel the last part, like being open, being more at ease. Definitely something that I felt, that I've started to feel since I started the belly dance journey with you, Meher, is like being able to shake and move and fall in love with the parts of me that I had just previously ignored or shamed or disliked. So I think a huge part of it is like really loving and accepting yourself from head to toe, like physically. That is definitely one. And I think for me, the empowerment also, because my personal journey has been empowerment in every aspect of my life. So I feel like this is one where I'm still learning, where I'm still on that journey. And of course, the festival helped a ton. Being introduced to Meher and her way of being is helping me on a daily basis to be more open, to flow, to not have um, a lot of shame or inhibitions. Because inhibitions and shame is definitely something that we touched on in the festival as well. And I realized it's not a one time thing. It's like so much baggage that we carry. I mean, I probably need to be letting go of them on a daily basis, and that's going to help with empowerment in every area. But I think specifically like the sexual empowerment and feeling sensuous, allowing yourself to feel it. I think for me, really is the allowance is the word that's coming up right now as I speak. Is just allowing yourself to be the way you're meant to be and not have so many restrictions or worry about judgment, worry about how you're being perceived. And that's definitely a work in progress for me. I think the second aspect, which is more like the pain and trauma of it, is taking my power back after abuse. And having been through like situations of betrayal, of trust, and things like that, is for me to redefine, reimagine a connection with my private parts, my sacred parts that have been touched and abused. and that could be a story for other people as well, but this is something that I'm just coming to terms with, and yeah, trying to figure out how I can, because I think I had disowned them for a while. I had just sort of seen it like, okay, this has been tainted in some way and I don't really know what to do about it. And there was maybe not a clear path, but now I'm accepting, owning, embracing all of it and trying to find a healthy way, because again, it's about taking charge, saying, okay, I have been hurt, wounded, violated in some way, but I don't have to carry that story. I don't have to keep that. Like the mess they made is their mess. And I'm still, I get to treat myself with love and respect. And I think that is translating into sexual empowerment for me, like organically. I can see it happening now, also because of conversations like this, also because of having met people who are making it easier for me to see that, to see where my blockages were. So I think what Meher said about blockages is also making a lot of sense, because I can now see the areas where I'm holding myself back.
This is a very beautiful point, Manya, what you pointed out, that sometimes we don't even realize that something is holding us back, or there are some blockages. So first step is just becoming aware of it, and then second step comes to work through it. And also, as Meher also said, and you also said, that letting go of that shame and inhibitions, which we may realize or not realize that it is there. So first thing is that, many times we just put, because the whole collective consciousness is such that we have been putting sexuality separate from us. It is like something just as a way of release and reproduction, but not being fully embraced and addressed. So we also unconsciously just put it aside, that okay, we will deal, or we are not even if living or not feeling fulfilled, it must be okay because that's how everybody is okay.
Hmm.
So we see our parents to be okay with this, we see friends to be okay, or couples being in marriages and still having sexless marriages, or not feeling even happy, but just for the heck of living together they are living together. So we
Hmm.
don't have real good examples probably around us to feel inspired to address our sexuality. and
Hmm.
and yes, in as Manya was saying, in the festival also, that these were the kind of issues which got highlighted for us, and she could work through some of it. And yeah, and these are the gatherings, like now we are doing Wonder Woman retreat, which is happening in Rishikesh in April end, where Meher is also gonna teach, and Manya was participating in our previous last festival in December in Goa. So maybe Manya, you can share as a participant how the festival supported you in working through any of, it's not just about sexuality. We think that is just about sexuality, but everything is very interconnected. Our sexuality, our mental health, our heart, everything, comes up. In fact, the work becomes multifold. It is easier when we address sexual issues. Everything else also comes up: our hurt, our insecurities, our rejections, our fear, our shame. So then we are able to see, oh my God, it was there, all these demons or the things which we didn't address, but it had been there. So when we start working through that, all these things, oops.
Oh, we don't hear you.
I think because Shrishti's phone fell down, it may have got disconnected.
Yeah. We also need you back on Zoom. The time of the virtual time. No, we can't. No, we can't hear you, Shrishti. I'm just figuring out what you're saying by your lips moving. Can't hear you. Wait, hold on. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Can hear you. Can hear you. Yeah. Speak, Shrishti, once again. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And on Zoom, we don't see you. We see you only on Instagram. You can hear you on Instagram. On Zoom, you're not there. It says there's only both of us, I believe. Yeah, that means you need to log in again on Zoom. Just let me do this. Yeah,
Now
you're
I'm
back.
back.
You're back.
Okay, great. Okay.
Super.
So one wind blew it all off. Life is never perfect. We think life is perfect. Nothing is gonna happen, but anything can happen.
If
One
anything,
thing,
if anything, COVID has made me so chill about these technical glitches in life. Like I feel like technology is screwing up all the time. So can we.
yeah, exactly. And nothing to hold too tight and take it too seriously. So just chill and enjoy and have fun as much as you can.
Absolutely. I think in the name of professionalism, we have really become tight people.
Very serious.
Very serious, very tight, very tense. And there was a time I remember when I had to go for an Insta live, I'd get like, oh God, agar internet chala gaya, what will happen if I can't hear? Now I just feel like, man, it happens all the time. It's not my fault. It's okay. It's okay. I don't have to take this on my shoulders. So I think it's such a great time. COVID has been such a great time to learn to let go. Such a great time.
Yeah. And I feel ki even if we haven't learned in last 2 years, when would we learn?
That's
So it's
true.
a great wake up call for all
Yeah.
of us. Yeah. So do as much as you can in the direction of inner growth, finding more joy for the things you really like to do, you love to do, and give your time, give your energy to those things. Yeah. Meet more in conscious gatherings, whether in women's body or men's body, doesn't matter. And do more and more to find out, dig deeper in yourself.
You have
So
to discover. You have to discover. You have to go on that journey. I think a lot of people will be apprehensive. I'm sure the women that joined us in Goa at the Wonder Woman retreat, maybe a few of them were even questioning what's going to happen, what can I expect. But I feel like you just have to plunge in. You just have to jump in. You will never know. From the outside, it might seem like, oh wow, this is so unreachable, or I don't know, maybe it's maybe there's something happening here that's going to be beyond my consent, or like I don't want to partake in these things. It can seem confusing, but I also want everybody to know that your consent is crucial. It'll always be asked for, and you'll always be made aware of what's going to happen, and no, there's no kind of forcing. On the other hand, it's just unfolding. So the only way to get in and to know what that level of transformation feels like is to jump in. That's the
is
only
to
way.
jump in.
That's the only
Yes, I completely agree. Sometimes we are thinking so much and then
Mhm.
we are not able to do it. So just
Yes.
jump for it. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, you both can,
Yeah.
share your experiences from the festival, from the day one to the day when you were leaving. What was your apprehension? What got transformed in the journey? What could be your lessons you took away from there and which you're still implementing probably in your life? That could be important.
Anya.
Okay. Initially, there was no apprehension. There was just a ton of excitement. And, I was there because I really, more than anything, wanted to meet Meher in person. This amazing person, I just need to meet her. And I knew that it was going to be amazing because Meher was part of it. And then, of course, I got to meet you, Shrishti, and all of our other amazing facilitators, and having a beautiful bond with each of them. What I came in with, which I didn't realize I had, was a wall around my heart. Was having difficulty trusting people, letting people in again. Those women, even though this was something I signed up to do and I wanted to feel that connection and love, it was still hard for me to let people in because of some baggage that I was carrying. But like you said, I think because of the way that the sessions were designed, when we were dealing with experiences where you had to face something uncomfortable. I think the apprehensions came up during the sessions for me. Like there were a couple of things that really pushed me to that edge of my comfort zone, and I felt like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I'm feeling conscious. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that, and there was a voice in my head that was telling me that it would be good for me if I took that leap of faith, if I just jumped in, like I said, took the plunge. But there was also like the part of me which is carrying that burden of baggage and like, what will people think? And is this really you? And all of that. And I think I'm really glad that in those sessions where I felt really pushed, that I actually went ahead. And it wasn't a forceful push, right? It was like you still have agency, you still have a choice of, do you want to go to that next level, which is really scary and challenging. But I think what the festival did and what you all did beautifully was hold that safe space. And I think what helped me make that jump was telling myself that if I'm ever going to do it, this is it. Like, this is the safest space that I can imagine, where I'm able to overcome this trauma, able to overcome certain things, because in a way it is in the collective, right? We have all been wronged in the same way. I mean, not the exact same way, but that feeling that we carry of being wronged, feeling put down, feeling betrayed, or whatever those emotions are of heaviness that we no longer need to carry. It just felt like in that moment it was an opportunity for me to let it go, and I could either take it or leave it. And I think that kind of gave it to me, like, now or never, let's do this, come on, you can do this. And you have so many people around you who are in a similar position. They're battling their own demons, they have their own fears, but we're doing this together. And there was so much beauty and power in that collective healing, and that's something I carry with me till today. Like, I don't feel like I went and I did all these things. No, we did it together, and you made it possible for us to do it together. And that is the beauty of having been there those 5 days, and how I felt. Not just the 5 days, right? The energy that I'm still carrying with me today is that I feel less alone. I feel like we're in this together, and I feel supported. Like, I feel supported by the circle of women that I got to meet. And I'm staying in one of those women's home today. I'm staying in Sudipta's house. I wouldn't have met her if not for this festival, and we have such a beautiful relationship. I'm her
So
student,
you
she's
make
my
deeper
student.
friendships, yeah.
Yeah, you make deeper, soulful friendships and connections, where the things that I used to worry about before, the insecurities, I feel them slowly falling away. It's not like it's no effort, it's still effort, but it feels easier than before. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh my god, this healing is such a struggle and I'm doing it all alone. I think that's the biggest belief that got dislodged for me, that actually this can be fun, and it's supposed to be fun, and you can do it together.
Absolutely. I think this is why I feel Tantra as a very juicy path of self healing and inner growth, because it's not very serious. Nobody is asking you just to close your eyes and focus at some point to go into no mind space. So it's absolutely fun, and you would still travel into a lot of healing spaces, into a lot of healing journey, inner growth, realizations, and transformation in a very held and fun way. Thank you, Manya, for highlighting one another very good point. What you said, that it may not be always pleasant to go through the self healing journey, but when you go in it together as a circle, as a community, you feel like you're not alone doing this. You feel supported, and there could be really some moments when you have to take that leap of faith, but when you see, oh, your other sisters are also diving deeper into it, you also jump into it. Yeah, you feel held, you feel encouraged. So
It's
yeah,
the
thank
best kind of peer pressure. It's not peer pressure, but if there was peer pressure, like, this is the best kind.
Absolutely. So this is one kind of pleasure. Thanks for highlighting that. And on this, I would like to share one of our means, not one of our, I would like to share the discount code. If any of you, those in Women's Body, are listening to this and want to join us in this upcoming Wonder Women intensive retreat for a week in Rishikesh, you can use the code evolve10 for your 10% discount, and we still have early bird going on, so you're not too late. And you would have me, Meher, and another co-teacher of ours holding that space. And yeah, see it for yourself, and don't think too much. These opportunities doesn't come often, and maybe you would feel like, oh, I'm too busy, I'm too occupied, but work keeps going. Yeah, work keeps on and on and on. You need to take that break for your own self, that no, this is what you want, and you need a retreat just for the inner growth, not just traveling for clicking photos, going somewhere, boozing, eating, going to the restaurants, and that's it, coming back. No, that's not just a holiday. You may be needing some other kind of spiritual holiday. So make time for that. And
A holy day.
a holy day, yes.
It's a holy day. Yes.
That's a good one. Anything, Meher, you would like to say on this, or yeah, last?
You know, I think, Manya said some amazing things about her experience. For me, it was really like a bare all. I developed bare all friendships. I feel like you could have had friends all your life, and I've always been surrounded by women. But still, I think we put on so many masks in life that there are very few situations where you can actually see people bearing everything, their fears, their bodies, their fears, their regrets, their everything. And for me, I really had a chance to not just look, but to see women, you know. And for me, always it's been in this aspect of teaching and students and teaching and students. And although I was a facilitator at this festival too, there is no division really between the facilitator and the participant. You don't feel that division. There is no division. Whereas, when you're teaching a dance class, it's quite definitive because you have to teach a technique, then you have to correct that technique. There is no correction here. Yeah. And because there is no correction, and because nothing is right or wrong, there is no division between the teacher and the student. And many times the student or the participant is becoming the teacher because you're discovering things through their eyes. So I would just say it's very rare to have experiences where everybody in one space is coming with the same intention. Even in our friendships, we don't necessarily come in with the same intention. Even in our marriages, we don't come in with the same intention. For somebody, marriage is about security. For somebody, marriage is about children. For somebody, marriage is about, I don't know, you've got to do it, society, pressure. For some people, it's a path to spirituality. But these kind of retreats or these spaces are inviting energetically to those who really want to go into that kind of work. And so, because the intention is that strong, I need to discover myself. I need to heal myself. I need to walk this journey towards a better, higher version or the higher me. How can I do that together with people? And as much as you want to heal separately, which is very powerful, at some point, that collective healing is very important for you to mirror your own healing journey. It's very important. So, I do feel this. I feel like this is that one space where you have the chance to really, really bare all, bare your soul, bare your body, bare your mind, bare your emotion to other women. And it's so, so gentle and beautiful to be able to do that. Very cathartic, very cathartic.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for bringing. Hi, Roro. Did you just wake up? Huh?
Hi, Roro.
Yeah, Roro was our youngest participant in the festival. So it was
Roro is the
really lovely to have.
youngest Wonder Woman, and she was quite shocked. We remember that, guys. She
Yes.
was all
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
look at all these amazing women. And I remember one day,
yeah. Yeah,
Sudipta, who Manya is living with right now. Sudipta was dressed in a very beautiful gown because that night we were supposed to dress in like some beautiful sensual clothes. And Roro was just like, oh my God, Didi, beautiful.
Oh.
she could feel the energy. Yeah, she could, even if she doesn't understand fully what's going on, children, they feel the energetic field.
Absolutely.
And that's how, even if she's so small, like 2 years old, but she is in that kind of energetic field and circle. So it's already, her initiation is done. Her initiation
I
is
really
there.
hope that this generation doesn't have to do the healing that our generation had to do. I really hope that this generation just has to do the transcending. you know.
Yeah.
Like I really hope that they their journey towards empowerment. I mean, of course, there are some things as parents we're going to get wrong. That car, that no, you know, I'm still living as I'm learning as I live. But I really hope this generation gets a chance to appreciate bodies, appreciate sexuality, sensuality, relationship, love. You know, it's so important for our balanced development. It is so important.
Exactly, exactly. I did so on that. And on this, I would like to give listening to us. I also have a 3-year-old. Let them themselves explore their own to remove their hands from the ears, try to wrap them, when they are 1 year, 6 months, never feeling embarrassed that, oh, my child is touching himself or herself. Let them explore their bodies. It's very natural. It's really very natural for them to explore, to touch. So let them be. Yeah, really let them be. And then you see the beauty when they grow up. So thank you so much to all of you and Meher and Manya for joining us. And those who are in men's body, also I have something online which is coming up, called as Moksha. Sorry, Kama, the path to moksha, means from sex to spirit, or how sexuality can open the spiritual doorways. Yeah, how your own sexual energy could be channelized into creativity, into the life force energy, how you can be more successful, more focused, more feeling fulfilled just by your own sexual energy being channelized in a proper way. So to be really open, to be really able to move that energy. So this is all what this online course is about, because many times many people wants to join us in our offline mixed gender retreat, but we really need people to be already aware what is tantra, what is sacred sexuality, for you to be prepared to come to the offline sessions. So you can start your journey anytime, anywhere, just you should have a calling for it and curiosity. So thank you again. Thanks, Manya. Thanks, Meher. And kisses to Roro and all of you who are listening to us. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope to see some of you there in Wonder Women retreat. Share it with your friends, spread a word, and keep following us. Lots of love.
Lots of
Bye
love.
bye. Lots of
Lots of
love,
Bye.
Manya.
love.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Meher. Bye, Shrishti.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Ciao.